Hey, it's Matt. This is Fantasy Football Almost Daily. Before we begin, it helps our show a ton if you show support with a follow and a subscription. It helps us even more if you give us a great rating or review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or some thumbs up on YouTube. We've got the first Fantasy Friday episode coming tomorrow. You'll get Christian Peterson, you'll get Kent Wyrock, and you'll get me previewing all the games, giving you some guys to roll the dice on, and answering questions that are just tough nuts to crack. Make sure you tune into Fantasy Football Almost Daily tomorrow. Today's show brought to you by Game Blazers, where they're gearing up for a huge Thanksgiving week. $36,000 is on the line in prizes for this week, but $40,000 in prizes for week 13. That's Thanksgiving week, all in free-to-play contests. If you use the referral code FFAD when you register, you'll get a free starter pack and a free rare pack valued at $25. And you get a spend 5, get 50 offer once you finish onboarding to get 2 more rare packs for only $5. That's pretty sweet. Download Game Blazers today. Today we dive deep into the Sunday slate on week 12 on Fanball with T-Bone Jones. But first, royalty-free music.
From the Sports Hub Games Network. This is Fantasy Football Almost Daily with your host, Matt Harrison.
Oh, hi, Trevor.
Hey, Matt.
Welcome to the show. It's Thursday. It's our normal day to preview DFS stuff, and I went a little bit colder last week. Did you? I don't remember what your grades were. How'd you do?
I did okay, although I believe I pushed Jalen Hurts over Josh Allen, which was a mistake.
Well, Josh Allen was my expensive quarterback last week. That one seemed to work out a little bit. I mean, if I can call 6 touchdowns every week, that's a good thing to do. Today, we're going to preview week 12 from a DFS perspective on the show. And while we generally use Fanball figures because we work there, most of the information could be used on any of the other salary cap sites. I mean, the pricing's pretty similar across the board. Before we do that, let's review some of the latest NFL news from around the league.
News team, assemble!
Lots and lots of injury updates to get to, Trevor. I'm going to go by team. I'm going to start with the Jacksonville Jaguars because you start with the Jaguars wherever you go. Brian Thomas Jr. logged a limited practice. He's trending up, but the running backs, they're going the opposite way. Travis Etienne was limited with a shoulder injury, and Bashal Tutin, who had a nice week last week in some garbage time, he left that game with an ankle sprain, and he's been limited as well. Any Jags you rolling with this week?
I liked Jacoby Myers before I thought Brian Thomas would play, so I don't know. I'm not really interested in a lot of the ancillary pieces there.
All right. Chiefs, Isaiah Pacheco looks like he's going to be back this week after missing last week's game against the Broncos with a knee injury, but Xavier Worthy may be out for the Chiefs this week. He didn't practice yesterday with an ankle injury, so Rashee Rice time. Let's go. Did we use him this week? I didn't use him.
I used him as my expensive receiver. I don't think I ended up playing him. He was okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right, to the Giants. Jackson Dart looks like he's going to play in Week 12. He's practicing in a non-contact jersey, but it appears that he's going to clear concussion protocol and play against the Lions this week. Jackson Dart, you fire him up?
The only worry I had with Jackson Dart right now is it sounds like the team, like the organization, has come to him to say you need to stop putting your head down into everybody. And so much of his upside is, he's got 7 rushing touchdowns, I think, this year. So if you're getting 2 or 3 less, goal line carries or just carries in general, I'm a little worried about Dart. We'll just see what he looks like coming off the injury.
You need to stop being Gus Frerotte.
Yes, exactly.
Ramming your head into the walls. Another quarterback who may be coming back, Joe Burrow. He practiced in full this week. And Joe Flacco is limited with a shoulder injury. There's an outside shot that we see Joe Burrow this weekend, but the Bengals have confirmed nothing yet. I wouldn't be surprised if Burrow is playing this week.
I feel like this kind of just stinks of gamesmanship But I'm surprised that Burrow even has a chance this early, honestly.
The gamesmanship of the Bengals. Ooh, what are you gonna do? Like, their defense is so terrible. It doesn't matter what quarterback they play.
That's true.
On the Falcons, Kirk O'Chains will be starting for the Falcons for the rest of the season because Michael Penix had season-ending knee surgery, and Kirk will be without Drake London, it looks like, who's listed as week to week with a knee injury. And this sounds like it could trend the wrong way real quick, too. And we could see Drake London out because it kind of feels like the Falcons are kind of folding the season at this point.
The season's over for them as far as any playoff aspirations this year. I don't want anything to do with Atlanta at this point. I don't want to play Bijan in daily fantasy. Kirk he's washed, man. Like, it's over. And if there's no Drake London, then it's just like, I don't know where that offense turns.
We'll talk a little bit more about the Falcons and Saints matchup later. The Buccaneers, a limited practice for Bucky Irving, you say? Ooh. Oh, that's interesting. And Chris Godwin, he got a limited practice in as well. Problem is, they're the Sunday night game. So unless both are listed as full participants in the Thursday or Friday practice, it's pretty tough to start either of those Bucs.
They might not even play, right? They might not even be active. So yeah. It's like you said. Make sure you get the news on Friday's practice report.
Yeah. To the Cardinals, Marvin Harrison will be out again this week. So will Amari DiMarcado, but Trey Benson came back to practice in a limited fashion, and they're saying that he could be available this week.
Yeah, that's another one where we'll get to a few Cardinals today. Marvin Harrison being out is maybe good kind of for everybody else on that offense.
Weirdly. The Steelers, Aaron Rodgers did not practice yesterday with the injury to his left wrist, but I have a feeling he's going to go in Soldier Field against the Bears. One last ride in Soldier Field. He's going to try to throw for 5 touchdowns in that game.
He does still own them, I am led to believe. Yes. It's
the McCaskies and the Rodgers families that own the Bears. Yes. The Packers, speaking of, former Aaron Rodgers teams, Josh Jacobs has not practiced yet this week with his knee injury, and Christian Watson was limited with a knee injury as well. How do you feel about your squad, Trevor?
The Josh Jacobs one, I lean that he plays. It sounds like it's a knee bruise, and Josh Jacobs is one of the toughest SOBs on the team, and so I assume he's going to take the Toradol shot or whatever and be good to go. If he's not, Emmanuel Wilson's a great play. That's kind of where I am on the Packers backfield.
Lastly, the Browns, Shedeur Sanders gets his first start on Sunday against the Raiders with Dylan Gabriel out. You rolling with Shedeur anywhere in any of your leagues? Your eyes tell me no.
Fire up the Raiders defense in every spot you can. He is the worst quarterback in the league, and I don't know how close it is.
All right. Yeah. Before we dig into week 12, Anthony Maggio's got a special message for everybody about Fanball.
If you're bringing 5-figure bags to the party each week, Fanball probably isn't for you. If you're gunning for a spot on the Roto Grinders top 50 DFS rankings, Fanball probably isn't for you either. So who is Fanball for? Fanball is DFS built for fans who have a life outside of sports but still enjoy a good sweat. And at Fanball, you can still 20, 50, or even 100x your entry fee. Every week of the NFL season has 3 feature tournaments. The Peacock is the headliner with $1K to first and just $20 to play. For another contest that slaps, try the High Five with $400 to first and just $5 to enter. And of course, there's Buck Hunter, where $1 gives you a shot at the $100 top prize. And if you want a little more on the line, you can find up to $100 NFL double-ups and $50 winner-take-alls. So register today at Fanball to get in on the fun and use promo code ALMOST for an up to $20 deposit match.
Wowza! It's time to really dig into this Fanball so we can help you win the Peacock this week. Week 12, here's my spiel. The Dolphins, Commanders, Chargers, and Broncos, they're all on bye this week, and the Bills and Texans play tonight, so they're off the slate. For a preview of that Bills-Texans game, tune into yesterday's episode of Fantasy Football Almost Daily. We're also missing the Panthers and 49ers from the Sunday slate because they play on Monday night. So here's the games with big over-unders this week, Trevor, and see if we highlight a few of these. 50.5 is the highest over under this week. It's the Colts and the Chiefs. I didn't think that was coming. 50 for the Giants and Detroit, and the Lions have an implied total of 30 points in that game. The Patriots and Bengals are at 49. The Pats are also close to 30 for their implied total. And then the Sunday night hammer is the Bucks and Rams. They're at 49.5 for an over-under, with the Rams as 6.5 point favorites. And I mentioned these because games with a lot of points tend to breed fantasy players with a lot of points too. We're going to talk about a few of those today. Trevor, who's your guy who's close to half your lineups that you're going to make this week?
Yeah, it's one of those high-scoring teams you mentioned. I think out of my picks, like 60 to 70% of them come from those like 6 teams you mentioned at the top there with the high totals. We'll start with Amon-Ra, 7,800 at home against the Giants. The sun god always shines in Ford Field. Here are the 4 home stat lines this year for Mr. St. Brown: 9, 115, 3, 770 and 2, 686 and 1, 9 and 97. It's also the first Lions home game without Sam Laporta, which should give him a slight bump in targets. The Giants have been getting trucked by opposing receivers recently, giving up the 3rd most catches and the 4th most yards. The Lions at home always have explosive potential, explosive output, if you will.
Yeah.
And are the only team, like you said, with a Vegas total over 30 points this week. Amon-Ra at home. Fire him up.
All right. My guy who's going to be in close to half my lineups. Oh, I had Josh Jacobs in this one last week, and then he got hurt, and I was just so bummed about that. Let's hope I'm not cursing anybody, because Jackson Smith and Jigba's in a great spot. He's the highest priced receiver at 8,400. He's at the Titans. He's averaging 9.7 targets per game. He's cleared 100 yards in 5 of the last 6 games, which is insane. And the one he didn't get to over 100 yards, he had 93. So, yeah, he's close. He's also scored in 4 of the last 6, and he solidly gives you 20 fan ball points as basically the floor every week. And you got to love that, especially in those head-to-heads and stuff like that, those cash games. He's got to be in your lineups. By the way, the Titans are allowing the 9th most receptions and the 5th most yards to the wide receiver position this year. So I'm firing up JSN this week. Who's the guy you're not firing up this week? Who's the guy who's fired?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Jonathan Taylor, but this is not your week. 9,500 at Kansas City.
You love
9,500. That's the part we're emphasizing here. Okay. Not here to tell you he's a bad play. 9,500. The price tag changes expectations. He's in Arrowhead this week. Never an easy matchup against the Kansas City defense that's really limited opposing RBs. Chiefs are top 7 in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns allowed. NAB backfields combined for just 22 touches a game, which is actually dead last in the league. Only one running back has cleared 100 yards rushing all year against the Chiefs. And that list includes of guys who face the Chiefs, include Saquon, Jahmyr Gibbs, Derrick Henry, Marion Hampton. I'd rather play any of the top 3 expensive receivers. We talked about JSN, we talked about Amon-Ra, or I drop down to some of the 7K running backs in that range.
All right.
A little too pricey this week.
We're going to poo-poo the number 1 priced running back and the number 2 priced running back on the slate this week, because I've got Bijan at 8,100, and he's not in my lineups this week at New Orleans. And Penix and London are out. Cousins hasn't been able to throw the ball with much accuracy and relief. So logic would say, hand it to your running back over and over again. And the Falcons just might do that. But the Saints are probably like, I bet you hand it to Bijan over and over again, and he's going to be facing 8-man boxes the entire time. I'd make Cousins try to throw it to, I don't know, Darnell Mooney, who's done nothing at all this year, and Casey Washington, who is a real guy and their 3rd wide receiver right now. What? Yeah, it's going to be dump offs to Bijan. And even if it is, the Saints are actually really good at that. They've allowed the 4th fewest receptions and the 5th fewest receiving yards to opposing backs. So Bijan, he out this week. All right, let's talk about.
Help. Oh, I was going to say, it doesn't help that Tyler Algier falters him at the goal line like 5 times a game.
Yeah, that's not a great thing either. Trevor, I had Josh Allen as my expensive quarterback pick last week, and I'm peacocking a little bit about that, but I want to hear who you have as your expensive quarterback this week, because I got a feeling the expensive QBs are in kind of a good spot this week.
Yeah, Josh Allen, I mean, 6 touchdowns. You can peacock that every time. I'm going with Patrick Mahomes this week, 7,100 home against the Colts. The spot reminds me a little bit of Baltimore, in where Baltimore was in Lamar's first game back from injury a few weeks ago, where it's like there's not that much time left in the season. We need to start stacking wins. KC's 5-5. They desperately need a win to keep pace in the playoff picture. I think they're 3 games back of Denver in the divisional round now, or divisional race.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to catch Denver.
No, I don't think so. Luckily, they are at home this week, where Pat's been incredible all year. On the road, Mahomes, 265 passing yards a game, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks. At home, 260 yards a game, 14 touchdowns, 3 picks. I think Kansas City recognizes the moment. It kind of turns it on like they've been wont to do in the past. Indy's defense is okay, but they're bottom 5 in pass attempts and completions allowed. It helps that Pacheco is back, but the Chiefs are really struggling to run the ball right now in general. Just 141 combined rushing yards over the past 2 games. This feels like a big Mahomes week.
All right. My brave call of Josh Allen last week gets even braver this week with the number 2 overall quarterback in the league, Drake May, $7,000 against the Bengals. It's just too good of a spot. The analysis boils down to this: Drake May good, Bengals D bad. The Bengals are bottom 5 in pass yards and passing scores allowed. The average game against the Bengals is 264-2. That would be good enough to be QB2 in the league this year, because Drake May is QB2, and that's slightly better than Drake May's averages. So I think 264-2 is pretty easy for Drake May to hit this week. And then he adds a little bit on the ground too. So I think we're in a good spot. Let's just fire him up.
I heard that the Bengals defense has the worst DVOA since DVOA was founded in 1978. So, yeah. Again, the Drake May good, Bengals defense bad. We probably could stop
all I
after
really
that.
needed. Who's your cheap QB?
Yeah, I think I went with Brissett last week too, which hit. And we're gonna run it back. Brissett's 5,700 at home against the Jags. He's been a volume monster this year. His attempts in his 5 starts, attempt totals of 44, 36, 31, 44, and then 57 last week. He faces a pass funnel Jags defense that ranks bottom 5 against fantasy QBs, but top 6 against fantasy running backs. We'll talk about the Cardinals tight end probably later in the show. It's a great route to attack, as Jacksonville is the worst non-Bengals tight end defense in the NFL. Like you said, Mary J. Mercado was ruled out, so they're really thin at running back. Trey Benson. If Trey Benson comes back, that'll help, because he's like an actual NFL player. And Brissett's hit at least, or exactly 2 touchdowns in all 5 of the starts this year. So the ceiling and the floor are pretty good, in a good spot here for the Cardinals.
All right. My cheap quarterback of the week. This one is actually really brave. This is a little daring. I've got Tyler Shuck, 5,200 at home against Atlanta. In his last game, he looked good. He beat a halfway decent Panthers team with 282 passing yards and 2 passing touchdowns. That's not bad. That's something to write home about against the Panthers, because they got a good secondary. They just had their bye, and they meet up with Atlanta for the first time this year. The Falcons had one of the best pass defenses in the league through October. From weeks 1 through 7, they allowed 155 passing yards per game and just over 1 passing score per game. Since then, from week 8 to 11, here's what they've given up: 205 yards and 4 touchdowns to Tua, 259 and 2 to Drake May, 255 and 1 to Danny Dimes with an extra 53 rushing yards. And last week, 448 yards and 3 touchdowns to Bryce Young, a guy they held to 121 yards in week 3. There was a 320-yard delta between Bryce Young's first game against the Falcons and his second game.
If you allow Bryce Young to throw for over 300 passing yards, you no longer get to be called a good passing defense. Sorry.
Oh.
Those are the rules.
Pack it up, pack it in, Falcons. So, all right. Should we move on to the running back position?
Let's do it. We'll start with the guy I don't know if I've recommended at all this year. Derrick Henry, expensive running back, in a home game against the Jets. We're 10 days away from D-Hember, so he's started to heat up a little bit. He started the season 5 straight games without clearing 20 touches. In week 6, though, he hasn't seen less than 20 touches. He averages 22 over that span. The Jets have been whooped by run games recently, and obviously they just traded Quinnen Williams, who was their best, probably their best player on defense. In their last 3, they gave up 199 combo yards and 3 touchdowns to Chase Brown and Samaje Perine. Quinshon Judkins had 22 carries in a game that the Jets won. So you're going to get volume on the Jets kind of no matter what. And then obviously Travion hit them for 3 touchdowns last week, Thursday night. Ravens are easily the largest favorite of the week at 13.5 points. So there should be plenty of opportunity to just stick the ball into Derrick Henry's belly.
Get in my belly. Another guy who's on the expensive side is the third most expensive running back this week is Jahmyr Gibbs, 7,700. He's going against the Giants, and I've been picking on the Giants for a few weeks on the running back side. I even considered using David Montgomery as my cheap guy. That's how bad the Giants' run defense is. 5.7 yards per carry against them. That's worst in the league. 146 combo yards per game. That's fourth worst in the league. 13 total running back touchdowns this year. That's fifth worst in the league. And by the way, Jared Goff, he was rattled last week against the Eagles. And the Lions need to get back to basics. And I think that basics for them is run the ball, short passes. And even if it's short passes, Gibbs was their best receiver last week against the Eagles. He had over 100 receiving yards in that game. So I think it's a huge Jahmyr Gibbs week.
And he really started to kind of separate himself from David Montgomery on the workload as well, just in general. So, again, Lions at home against that Giants team. Just fire them all up.
Yeah. Who's your cheap running back?
Yeah, we'll go back to the well again here with Chase Brown, 5,700 at home against New England. We talked about how important it is that Samaje Perine is out for the Bengals. He did start with a did not practice this week, so just monitor his availability. Without him, Chase Brown saw 82% of snaps, 8 targets, and he got 24 out of the 27 Bengals running back touches. New England is a strong run defense. However, they permitted the most catches to opposing backs this year at 5.75 per game. You're kind of looking at a floor of like 4 to 5 catches for Chase Brown right here in a game that since he's an 8.5 point dog. So you would assume that the script will set him up well as in that way. He's got 14 catches just the past 2 games alone. He also fell just 1 yard shy of the 100-yard bonus last week. Fire him up with confidence.
All right. I've got my budget guy as Zach Charbonnet, 4,800 at the Tennessee Titans. And a lot of this is based on, well, the Titans are bad at run defense. And Kenneth Walker's 6,000. But this is a huge discount for Charbonnet. He's 1,200 cheaper for a guy who almost gets as many touches. Last week, Walker led the way. It was 19 to 13 in touches. But the week before that, it was 15-14. And it's been Charbonnet in the red zone. He's had 29 red zone touches this year to Walker's 25. And in the last 2 weeks, it's 7 red zone touches for Charbonnet and 5 for Walker. So this is why Charbonnet has more touchdowns this year. He's leading 6-4. The Titans have given up the 3rd most total touchdowns to opposing runners with 14 this year. Now, I think Walker eats too, but the $1,200 discount on Charbonnet is just too good to pass up in this one. And I think if you're looking at one of the Seattle running backs, take the cheaper one, the guy who scores more touchdowns and maybe has as many touches. So I think that's a good spot for Charbonnet here.
And I think you'll need that. Like I think you said, it was $1,200 difference. You're going to need that when we've already talked about Amon-Ra, JSN, and then we're going to flip to expensive receiver here. I've got Puka. So you're going to need a little bit of a savings somewhere else at your non-receiver spots.
Well, tell me more about Puka.
Yeah, 8,300 at home against Tampa on Sunday night. It's a really good matchup. Tampa is bottom 3rd in both catches and yards allowed to receivers. Over the past 4 weeks, they gave Amon-Ra 686 and 1. Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed both cleared 8 catches and 60 yards. The Patriots receivers, the whole collection of them went for 258 and 2. And then obviously Josh Allen had a nice game last week, 300 passing yards. Additionally, Tampa's number 1 corner, Jamel Dean, did not practice Wednesday. Keep an eye on that. Puka's box scores haven't been great recently, though there's kind of explanations for all of them. He left early against the Saints 3 games ago. Last week was a low-scoring game against a really good Seattle defense. And then there was also the Rams being up 2 touchdowns at San Francisco in the first half. Sort of, you don't need to mash Puka as hard. Tampa's also kind of a pass funnel defense. They're very good at run defense. Much better than they are pass defense. I'm thinking Puka gets at least 101 this week. Gets back on track.
Are you at all nervous about some lingering injury issues with Puka? And I know he had the rib injury a few weeks ago, and I'm sure he was, in one of those flak jackets or something like that. But it seems like he's just had a little bit of a downswing in the past few weeks and kind of coincided with that injury that caused him to miss a handful of practices.
Yes. Normally I would be. He is not on the injury report. where he has been on the injury report recently. So when he's off the injury report, I feel much better. But yeah, when he's coming in questionable with like the knee or the hamstring or, whatever injury he suffered as they lined him up at fullback, like, yeah.
Why did they do that? All right. My expensive wide receiver. He's not that expensive. I use JSN as my kind of ride or die guy. So I got Chris Olave, who's kind of a mid-tier guy at 6,300. He's playing Atlanta at home. And since Shuck took over the Saints, he's seen Tampa, the Rams, and the Panthers. Now, the Rams and the Panthers are great against wide receivers. Olave had 12 targets in the Bucs game, went for 8 catches, 63 yards. He didn't do that great in the Rams game. That one's just a tough matchup. But the thing that stuck out was week 10 against the Panthers, where it was shuck it deep time. Olave had 8 targets, 5 catches, 104 yards, and a score against a very good Panthers secondary. And the Falcons, I just highlighted before, their recent struggles against the pass. But listen to these names since week 8. These wide receivers have topped 12 PPR/fanball points. Jalen Waddle, okay, he's kind of good. Malik Washington, Demario Douglas, Stephon Diggs, Alec Pierce, Tet McMillan, and Xavier Legette.
Not all superstars there.
Not really a who's who of wide receivers there. I think Chris Olave can get it done for real. All right, who's your cheap wide receiver?
Yeah, he's not as cheap as these guys usually are. I got T. Higgins, $6K at home against New England. This is kind of a Jamar Chase's suspension came out after salaries were locked. So you just get a coupon on T. Higgins here. In 5 career games without Chase, his T's average stat line is 6 catches, 102 yards, and 0.6 touchdowns. Even with Chase, T has seen at least 8 targets in 4 of the past 5 games. Patriots are just an okay matchup for receivers, but they have allowed the 3rd most touchdowns to the position. Number 1 wideouts specifically have given them problems recently. Over the last 3 games, Drake London gave them the business, 9, 118, and 3. Emeka Egbuka, 6, 115, and 1. And even the Jets' number 1 receiver, at least by snap percentage, is John Mechie, and he put up 345 and 1. So, yeah. T. Higgins, man, just it's kind of a free space, I think, this week.
He was my cheap receiver last week. He was even a little bit cheaper last week. I think he was 5,800. And this week, 5,800 yards and a score per game. That's an average of 21.8 points per game. He's gone up 12 points per game in the last 2 weeks. Obviously, Dan Campbell's like, we got to feature Jameson Williams. He's running plays for Jameson Williams. And the Giants secondary has been a mess with injury. You highlighted a lot of it with Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's just a Detroit Lions stack I think you can go with here. The Giants are allowing the 3rd most receptions and 4th most yards to opposing wide receivers, so JMO is in a good spot here.
Dan Campbell went out of his way to say that like one of the reasons he took over play calling was that Jameson Williams wasn't getting the ball enough. Like that was like one of the main, like, this is why I'm pissed. Let's make sure we get this guy some touches.
Well, and it's not like Ben Johnson was utilizing him heavily the last few years. So like, obviously Dan Campbell's got a soft spot in his heart.
Yeah, apparently.
Who's your expensive tight end? I stole the good one.
Yeah, the answer is Matt's, but I'll put together my best case here. I'll go Hunter Henry at. It's just who's playing the Cincinnati defense? Just run that guy out there. Hunter Henry, 3,900. Austin Hooper's still limited with a concussion. He was out last week, so Henry played a lot of snaps, 94%. We'll just go through the weekly Bengals tight end defense stats. Most yards and touchdowns allowed. Bottom 5 in catches. I've read this like 8 times.
Yeah.
Hunter Henry's got 6 targets.
Bad PED.
Yep. Hunter Henry's got 6 targets in 2 of his last 3, so he's one of May's favorite targets anyways. And then this is more just anecdotal. I don't know if you saw the Darnell Washington play from last week against the Bengals. So Darnell Washington is 6'7", 311 pounds. He confirmed on a podcast. And he went for 4 catches, 67. He had a stiff arm to send one guy like 5 yards flying, and then 2 truck sticks to send 2 other guys like literally like yards out of bounds. A very fun player. But yeah, pick Matt tight end. But if you need some savings, Hunter Henry's a good option too.
Well, my tight end's really expensive. It's $7,000 Trey McBride, which is about as expensive as tight ends get on Fanball. So yeah, that's pretty expensive. But he's playing the Jags this week, and Jacksonville's been not quite Bengals bad against the tight end, but pretty bad against the tight end. They're bottom 8 in every metric against that position. And if you think Trey McBride is in the tier maybe with only, I don't know, Brock Bowers, That's probably a good thought. Brock Bowers played this team 3 weeks ago. How'd that go? 12 catches, 127 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So I'm feeling pretty good about Trey McBride. Marvin Harrison's still out. We thought McBride would get 1 million targets last week, but it turns out they all went to Michael Wilson for some crazy reason. He had 18 targets in that game. What? But McBride still caught 10 of his 11 targets last week for 115 and a score. This is a no-brainer.
I was going to use McBride as my in every lineup guy, but you had him first, so
you probably should have said nope. I'm taking him as my top guy, and then I would have had to make a change.
No, yeah, he's A+ play, A++. On the other side, cheap tight end here, we've got Noah Fant on the opposite side of that Cincy New England game, 3,300 at home against New England. Mike Gesicki's practice window was open this week. Could be activated for Sunday. Just keep an eye on that. But Fant has been the main beneficiary in his absence, leading the tight ends in targets during that stretch. Obviously, Jamar Chase is out, so there's just a couple more targets for everybody to go around. We know the Bengals defense is all-time, tight end defense is all-time bad. The Patriots have also had struggles. They've allowed the most catches and the 5th most yards to the position. So it's not fun, but there's some savings if we need to smash all the Trey McBride and expensive receivers in.
There we go. I got a really cheap guy for you. I don't feel as strongly about my cheap guy as maybe you do, but Gunnar Helm, 3,100 versus the Seattle Seahawks at home. I was going to queue him up as my deep sleeper, but I thought I liked him better than the guy I had previously listed there. Helm has seen his snap share increase steadily for the last few weeks. He was up to 64% last week as he fights Chigakonkwo for playing time. But Helm led in targets and receptions over Okonkwo last week. And Seattle, they're good. But I got to believe there's going to be a lot of garbage time here for the Titans. And it's impossible to throw to wide receivers against the Seahawks because they've allowed the second fewest yards to wide receivers. There's a couple pathways to passing. One of them is against the tight end. And the Seahawks have allowed the 7th most receiving yards and the 3rd most receptions to tight ends. I think Gunnar Helm can probably get you 5 catches here. And at 3,100, that paid you back right there.
I might like that more than Fant. I just feel like there's going to be so much garbage time in that Tennessee, especially without Calvin Ridley now. Not that he was playing well, but
yeah.
All
right. Deep sleeper time, Trevor. Who do you got?
Yeah. I don't feel great about this one. We'll try
why they're deep sleepers.
Yeah, usually I feel a little better. I have a backup one that I like too, but we'll go AD Mitchell, Jets receiver.
I don't feel good about that either.
3,100 at Baltimore.
The D stands for drops.
It does. We won't talk about those. In his first Jets action, Mitchell led the team in targets with 6, despite playing just 50% of the snaps. I do expect his snap count to rise. The guys ahead of him on the depth chart are John Mechie, Isaiah Davis, and Tyler Johnson, who I love. Go for great, but those aren't going to be on the team next year. AD Mitchell was a recent top 40 pick. He might be the only guy that still makes it through 2026. Baltimore is a solid matchup. They've allowed the 6th most catches and 9th most yards to opposing wideouts. Jets are a 2-touchdown dog. You would assume it's going to be a pass-centric garbage time script. Also, they get Tyrod Taylor this week, who is much better at throwing the football than Justin Fields is. The other guy I actually thought about, now that Marvin Harrison is probably almost confirmed out, is Greg Dortch at 3,400. He had 6 targets last week and caught all 6. So yeah, I might like that one even better than Mitchell, honestly.
I mean, Fish and I highlighted Greg Dortch on the waiver wire show this week, and we highlighted John Mechie on the waiver wire show this week because we did not like AD Mitchell.
I'm betting on draft capital, I guess. Yeah.
AD all drops. My deep sleeper is Tyjae Spears, 4,300 against the Seahawks. And I mentioned it in the Gunnar Helm thing. Garbage time is coming. There's pathways to pass yards, and it's not wide receivers. It's tight ends, and it's to running backs. Seattle's allowed the 6th most receptions and the 7th most receiving yards to opposing backs. It's going to be all dump off stuff, and the Seahawks are just going to kind of try to keep you in the bubble. In Spears' last 5 games, he had reception totals of 4, 4, 3, 3, and 5. 5 receptions and 30 yards seems like the floor here on the receiving side for Spears. That's 8 points right there. whatever else you get for rushing, maybe even the one touchdown that the Titans score in this game, could be Spears. That's all gravy at that point. So I think Spears is kind of an interesting guy if you need to get dirty cheap at the running back or flex position.
What was his price again?
4,300.
That's about as low as you could go and still be like actually viable to score points. That's a good one.
Yeah. All right, Trevor, now's the time of the DFS show where we take a look at the Fanball 5x5 lineup for the week. And if you're watching at home on YouTube or on Spotify, you can see this up on the screen right now. But our Sunday Fanball 5x5 lineups up there. It includes all the late games this week. Bijan Robinson is a $5 player. I don't think either of us are throwing him in lineups this week, but did you see any guys that you were like, ooh, that's a sexy price right there?
The Devontae Smith, AJ Brown pair of $1 right next to each other.
I
don't know which one I would take yet. I think AJ Brown, just because it's been so long since he's had like an explosion game. And then I'm playing Puka and Trey McBride as well.
Oh, I kind of like that. So you got Puka, Trey McBride, that's $9, two $1 guys down at Smith and Brown. So you got, room left for another $4 guy if you do it that way.
Yeah, George Pickens, what he did last week, that's hard to ignore.
All right. Well, that's the Sunday 5x5 over on Fanball. You can pop into that for $5. Top prize is $250. It's only limited to 120 spots. So get in quick before it's too late. Trevor, do you have a lineup for us this week?
Yeah, I'll note that this lineup doesn't have Trey McBride in it after I just said he's a lock. So we'll have to move some things around to figure that out. Hey, guys, I swear, play all these plays. No, he'll be on the lineup by Sunday morning. Let me see here. All right, so we've got all my NBA. All right, Jacoby Brissett and Mahomes at quarterback. Running back, we got Chase Brown, Derrick Henry. Receiver, Puka, Amon-Ra, T, Hunter Henry at tight end, and then Greg Dortch at flex. So
normally I really like your lineups. I don't feel great about that one.
I think I would take out Derrick Henry to get McBride in and then figure the rest out.
There we go.
We got some tinkering to do.
You got some high-priced wide receivers in there. You went 3 pretty high-priced guys at the wideout position.
2 of the top 3.
There we go. All right. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for Fantasy Friday on the Fantasy Football Almost Daily podcast. It's going to be me. It's going to be Kent Wyrock. It's going to be Christian Peterson, both veterans of fantasy football podcasts that you've heard before. We're going to go over every game on the slate. We're going to talk about all the Sunday and Monday and the Monday night games. We're going to give grades on every player, maybe even some benches. We're going to talk about our favorite guys to roll the dice on, a couple of really tough questions to crack. It's going to be good. I hope you tune in. It's a labor of love that we're going to do for the rest of the season. We'll see what the future holds for next year. But for the remainder of this year, we wanted to bring some of the fans, especially in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, who used to hear our radio show on KFan. We wanted to bring you an option for that. So I hope you guys tune in. And a quick reminder on Game Blazers. This week, you can win your share of $36,000 in free roll contests. Sign up using the referral code FFAD. We'll give you a whole bunch of bonus stuff if you do that, because we love you. This was Fantasy Football Almost Daily. Thanks, Trevor. We'll see you next time.
This was Fantasy Football Almost Daily. Please subscribe and give us a 5-star rating wherever you listen to podcasts.